Hello and welcome to Math 4820, 5320. The name of the course is Statistics. Not very descriptive, but it is what it is. So this class is a slash listed class, and I'll explain the differences in a slash listed class later in the syllabus. But long story short, this class is going to be populated by both undergraduate and graduate students. So there's going to be some subtle differences. So as you hopefully know already, my name is Joshua French. I'm going to be your instructor this semester. My office is CU 611, which is on the 6th floor of the CU Dravo building, which is across from the North Classroom building, across from the North Classroom building across Spears. If you need to get a hold of me, you can call me. My phone number is right here, though my office phone doesn't really get a lot of attention. My recommendation would be to contact me via email or to actually stop by my office in person. We are going to be using Canvas for a lot of the stuff in the class. I'm going to use it to distribute materials such as the syllabus, lecture notes, quizzes, etc., or quiz solutions, homework solutions, etc. And you can go there to the Canvas website. We're going to ucdenver.instructure.com. And it's going to be similar to Blackboard. If you guys are not new students, you should know what that is. But it's supposed to be upgraded for the social age. So there's some features that might be nice for you. In terms of when we meet, you probably already know this as well, but we're going to be meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 4:45 p.m. in North Classroom 5033. That's the FAST lab. The reason that we chose this classroom was because it has computers. They're going to have some software that we will need for the course. At this point, my office hours are going to be Tuesday and Thursday from 11 to 12:30 p.m. or by appointment. This could change, and if it does, then I will let you guys know by updating the syllabus and also via email and probably in class. But there's another class that I still need to schedule, so it's possible that I might need to move my office hours to accommodate that different class. So you're probably wondering what in the world this class is. This is not an introductory statistics class. An introductory statistics class is very basic. It teaches you some basic exploratory techniques, some really fundamental aspects of statistics, but it does not really delve into the statistical theory, where that's what we're going to do in this course. So we're going to talk about estimation, about constructing confidence intervals, about the different types of estimations. There's not just one kind of estimation, there's multiple kinds. We're going to talk about how to come up with good estimators. We're going to talk about how to construct hypothesis tests and how to do regression, analysis of variance, etc. So we're going to cover a lot of different topics, a lot more than an introductory statistics course would, as well as the fact that we're going to go much deeper. So perhaps the one way of describing how this course is different from an introductory statistics course is that you're not only going to learn statistical methods, but you're actually going to learn how to derive or actually discover many of these methods. So it's not just, here's what you do when presented with this kind of problem. It's, why do you want to use this method, or how can we come up with a method in order to tackle this particular situation? As I mentioned, we're going to be learning different kinds of estimation. And if you have different approaches to estimation, you get different estimators, and you have to learn how to decide which one is going to be a good estimator, or which one is the best estimator. And so we're going to learn how to compare different estimators, hypothesis tests, various techniques depending on what kind of data you need to analyze. Another key aspect of this course that's going to differ from the introductory statistics course, at least the last time I taught it, is that you're actually going to learn some statistical software. And the statistical software, there is a bit of a learning curve, but we go pretty slow in learning it. And the nice thing about this statistical software is it's not something where I'm going to teach it to you and you're never going to use it again, or it's not used anywhere else. So we're going to be using something called R, which is a specific programming language that is really the language of statistical computing in academia, and it's becoming more and more commonly used in industry because it has the backing of academia, and it's free, it's cross-platform, it's open source, you can do whatever you want with it. It's easy to extend. There's lots of advantages to using R, and so we're going to also learn how to use that to do statistical analysis. So you can see here some of the objectives of the course. I essentially already talked about that in the overview. But really, you're going to know how to do statistics at the end of this course. I'm not just going to teach you rote memorization. Here are 8 different tests, and pick one of them. I'm going to teach you how to do hypothesis testing, how to construct confidence intervals, why you would choose one over another, when you're going to use one in one setting versus a different one in another. And so when you leave here, you're going to know some statistics. There's a lot more to learn, of course, but hopefully it gives you a flavor for what is possible with statistics and will encourage you to learn even more. So in terms of prerequisites, there definitely are prerequisites. Introductory statistics is not one of them. If you've never had a statistics course, that may be okay. However, if you need at least one of the following 2 courses, either Math 3800, which is essentially a calculus-based statistics course that focuses a lot on engineering students, or Math 4810, which is probability. And either one of those will suffice. I highly recommend Math 4810 just because it's really going to give you a stronger foundation on which to base your statistical knowledge. If you've only had Math 3800, then that's okay. If you haven't had either one of these 2 courses, then this course really is not for you. You want to take one of these 2 courses first and then enroll in math, or enroll in this course afterward. So make sure that you have these prerequisites. If you don't have one of these prerequisites, then you're going to be very frustrated, discouraged. This course is a second semester kind of course. It's not an introduction to statistics. So there is a required textbook for this class. It's a really well-known book. It's in its 7th edition now. It's called Mathematical Statistics with Applications. Unfortunately, a book that's in its 7th edition, it's been around for a while, typically means it's really thick and unfortunately quite expensive. So expect to spend at least $150 or so on this book. I have explored using other books, but really this is the best book, the best classical mathematical statistics book on the market today, in my opinion. We are going to use it. I follow the progress of the book fairly closely, though the notes are definitely my own. And the homework is going to be based out of the problems in the book. So if you're looking at buying an older edition of the book, that could be okay. In terms of the text, I'm sure it's going to be fine. The main problem is going to be with the homework problems because they add more problems, they switch numbers from edition to edition. And you'll need the 7th edition if you want to know what problems I'm assigning. So in terms of a calculator, you can have one, you can use one if you'd like. The CI 83 and 84 probably are going to be the best if you wanted to use one because they have access to common statistical distributions. The TI 89 can also be used, though these capabilities have to be added in. They don't come standard with it. However, if you don't have one of these calculators, I wouldn't recommend buying it. I honestly think it will be a waste of your money. So I'm not going to do any kind of calculator-based learning in this class. If you want to bring it for quizzes or for exams to help you with those calculations, some mathematical calculations like square roots or division, that's totally fine. I understand that. But we're going to be focusing on using the R statistical environment for the statistical calculations. So you're really not going to need a fancy calculator in order to be successful in this course. So I mentioned already that we are going to be using some statistical software to do data analysis in this class. The software that we use is called R, very simple. It is an implementation of the S programming language. It's somewhat similar to MATLAB. If you've used MATLAB before, there are definitely some differences. And if you're highly skilled in MATLAB, then you're going to be frustrated at times with R simply because the syntax is similar but just different enough that you'll confuse yourself. So, yeah, so there will be some differences, but as I said, we'll start slowly. You don't need to be worried about getting left behind. You can download the program here at www.r-project.org. Like I said, it's free, it's cross-platform. You can find it for Mac, for Linux, for PC. They even have other more obscure operating systems that you can download this for. So I'd recommend downloading that and installing it on your laptop. I wouldn't play around with it at first because it's not really a point-and-click kind of program. We'll learn more down the road. I would definitely install it at your convenience. One sort of enhancement to R that some people find useful is something called R Studio. And really it's just an integrated desktop environment, which is really a fancy way of saying it. It's supposed to make programming in R a little nicer. So if you're interested in looking at that, then go to rstudio.org and download the program. It's also free and cross-platform, has a lot of nice features. I'm going to stick with the base R, mostly because that is easiest for students to see when I do examples. But if you use RStudio, then all the calculations are going to be the same. It's not, it's really just an add-on to the base R. It actually uses the regular R, but it adds some enhancements to it that are useful for certain people. So grab one of those. Actually, grab both of those. Definitely grab the base R, and then if you want to grab RStudio as well, then that's also okay. So in terms of some other materials that you might find helpful, there is a student solutions manual that's available with this textbook. It only provides answers to the odd numbered problems, and as you might expect, I don't assign a whole lot of odd numbered problems throughout the semester, but if you are looking to be successful in this course, and that's one way of checking your work, simply because the odd numbered problems are pretty similar to the even numbered problems. And so I would recommend getting that. Of course, at times it's going to be wrong, but for the most part, it's a pretty good solutions manual. Another helpful text that I recommend is called All of Statistics by a professor named Larry Wasserman. And it's actually going to be a higher level text, in my opinion, than the one that we're currently using, but it's much more concise. So whereas our text is really big and thick, All of Statistics is pretty thin and narrow and cuts to the chase. And so sometimes that can be very nice when you're trying to understand a concept, because instead of talking in flowery language, it just cuts right to the point. So All of Statistics could also be a useful text if you're just looking for extra sources of information that would be covering the same material. So in terms of grading, as I mentioned, this is both an undergraduate and graduate level course. There's going to be some grading policies that are different for the two different groups. So each of the classes, Math 4820 and 5320, they're both going to be having homework, quizzes, exams, etc. But there are going to be some subtle differences. So homework is going to be assigned on a regular basis, typically about once a week, not necessarily by chapter, but something along those lines. So when the homework is due, on the designated days, I want you to turn in a physical copy. So I don't want you to turn it in via email or something like that unless you've made prior arrangements with me. But please turn in a physical paper copy so that it's easier to grade and look through. And because this class is a pretty large class and because there are quite a few homework problems, I will not guarantee that I grade every single problem that is assigned. So some of the problems will be selected as few as one problem, as many as all of them. It kind of depends on the assignment. And the problems that are graded alone will be used to determine a student's grade for that assignment. So unfortunately, this can work both ways for a student. So if I only graded certain problems and you didn't do the other ones, well, it wouldn't affect your grade at all. If you did certain problems and not the ones I graded, well, then that would affect your grade detrimentally. So I'm going to be selecting certain problems in the homework and only grading those problems and basing your homework grade on those problems. Once the assignment has been graded, then I will post the solutions on the Canvas so that you can look them over, see what the solution is, how you get it, etc. One of the ways I motivate students to stay up to speed in terms of lectures and homeworks is by giving quizzes. And so I'm going to give quizzes throughout the semester, probably a little less than once a week, but pretty often. And they could be unannounced. Sometimes they're pop quizzes, sometimes they're not. But typically I try to give you an idea of what to expect beforehand. So I really like to focus on the big picture ideas in this class. I don't want to worry you about the upscribble details about how to derive something. I want you to have the big ideas. Even for me, if I don't use the tool long enough, I forget the details of how to use it. But what is very important is knowing the big picture. So when do I use certain types of tools? What's going to make me choose one tool over another? And then when you know what tool you need to use, then you can study it in more detail and remember all the details you need to actually implement that. So quizzes are also going to be an important part of the course. There are going to be some exams throughout the semester. So there's going to be 2 midterms and 1 final exam. The midterms are going to be on September 24th and October 29th. Those days are fixed. They're set in stone. They're not going to change unless the university closes down for the day or something like that. So expect to have the exams on those days. There's also going to be a cumulative final exam during finals week. I can't tell you the exact time or even the day. They don't let us know until about halfway throughout the semester. But typically, the time and place is the same as your regular class. You just have to stay a little bit longer at the end of it. So as I mentioned, there's some slight differences for between the two different classes. So Math 5320 students, the students in the graduate level class, may be assigned extra homework or exam problems. The quizzes are going to be the same, but the Math 5320 students are going to have some extra homework problems that are harder than the 4820 problems, and their exams are typically going to be a little bit longer and or a little bit harder. It kind of depends on how I make the exam up each semester, but they're not going to have the same exam as 4820 students. These problems are not optional, so if I assign these extra problems for the graduate students, they have to do them, but when explicitly stated, the Math 4820 students might also be able to do these problems for extra credit. And I will point out that for any of these, without a documented health, disability, or emergency reason or prior approval, if you turn your homework in late, you miss a quiz or an exam, it's going to be scored as a 0. So typically, if you let me know beforehand that you're going to be out of town, I'll try to work with you. But if you don't let me know about something and you don't have some dire medical emergency that you can prove, then don't expect to be able to make up an exam, a homework, or a quiz. If you miss it, then you're going to get a 0 for those assignments. So the final grades are determined using the exams, quizzes, and homework that I previously described. So the quizzes are going to be worth 10% of your grade. The homework is worth 20% of your grade. Exams 1 and 2 are worth 20% of your grade each. And the final exam is worth 30%. So it's still a pretty hefty chunk. It's not one of those things where you can just shirk it off at the end of the semester. It can definitely affect your grade for the better or for the worse. And I will point out, in case it's not obvious, this is a weighted grading scheme. So homework assignments and quizzes are not worth the same. It's not just a point total that you can add up. You have to actually calculate grades for quizzes, a grade for homework, grade for the exams, etc., and multiply it by the appropriate weights. So in terms of the grading, the letter grades, it's all going to be pretty straightforward. It's all pretty typical. The only small distinction that might be different from other courses is that there are no C minuses in this class. You have 70 to 78 as a C. So it doesn't matter whether you barely pass or you almost get a C+, it's all just a C. But with that, I am very strict on actually having a 70%. So if you have a 69.4% or 69.9%, don't expect to get a C, because the cutoff is at 70, not 72 or 73. You need to really get a 70% in order to get a C in this class. In terms of the grades, I will provide them using the course's Canvas course shell. So expect to see grades on Canvas, and you can access your scores within the Canvas gradebook. And the homeworks, the quizzes, and exams are going to either be returned directly to you in class or in my office if you stop by my office, but they're going to go directly to you. So one thing that is very, very important to me is honesty. So basically don't cheat. It's embarrassing for you when I catch you. It's embarrassing for me to have to turn you in, but I will do it. It's great if you want to work together on a homework assignment and learn how to do things together. I know I've certainly done that many, many times. But the work that is turned in should be your own. It shouldn't be your friend's work that you just copied. You really need to know how to do this stuff. If you are getting 100% on the homeworks because you're working with somebody and you're basically copying them, that's not going to help you when it comes to a quiz or an exam. So do yourself a favor and learn to do the stuff on your own. Even if you're working with other people, make sure that the work is your own work and that you actually understand it. So I highly encourage discussion for homework assignments, but make sure that the assignments are your own. And if you do plagiarize, you do cheat, may lead to failure on the assignments, could lead to failure of the class, and or possibly dismissal from the university. So it really depends on the situation, how the university wants to handle it, but regardless, the consequences are not going to be fun for you. If you have some sort of disability that needs to be accommodated, I am completely happy to accommodate you in whatever way the university would like me to. However, you must do so through the Disability Resources and Services resource on campus, which can be found in North Classroom 2514. You have their phone number here. Basically, DRS is going to require you to provide documentation of your struggles, and depending on your struggles, then they will assign various accommodations that they would like you to have. And so I'm happy to give you anything the university wants, but it has to be approved through the university. It can't just be something where I work with you on my own. I do expect you to abide by all the appropriate rules of the university. See the Student Code of Conduct. In terms of absences, tardiness, homeworks, and quizzes, as I already mentioned, unless you have a documented health, disability, or emergency reason or prior approval, I'm not going to accept any excuses for absences or tardiness or missing or late homework, quizzes, or exams. You're going to get a 0. So it's pretty harsh. I know it's pretty straight, but it's also pretty straightforward, and it really leaves very little gray area. So, I mean, if something comes up and you have documentation, I'll work with you. If you talk to me ahead of time, I'll try to work with you. But if you just oversleep and don't show up to class, you decide to skip class for work or a concert or whatever, then don't expect sympathy. So please make sure that you're in class when you need to be and you turn things in on time. So in terms of being successful in this class, expectations, etc., as I've already mentioned, there is some prerequisite knowledge that you're expected to know, especially about probability. So make sure that you have the prerequisites if you're going to stick in this class. Even if you have taken these classes, it may take you some time to recover, remember some of these concepts that I'm expecting you to know. So I have put some lecture slides for the first 2 chapters on Canvas. You might want to look those over. I'm actually going to assign some homework problems based on these chapters, but these are things you should already know. Additionally, I have posted my lecture notes from Introductory Statistics, just because some of the background material might be helpful to you. We're not going to talk about these in class. These are really just materials that I'm making available to you to help you to be successful in this class. These lecture notes are not going to be as in-depth as the lecture notes in class, but hopefully they'll be useful to you. So look those over if you feel like they'd be helpful. One thing I will say is that this is a senior level / graduate level course. That means that you should expect to work hard. So this is not going to be introductory psychology or introduction to psychology or something like that. This is not a freshman level class. It's not a sophomore level class. It's not a junior level class. This is a senior level class or a graduate level class. And because of that, you should expect to work, for example, 6 to 9 hours per homework assignment. You should expect to spend an hour or 2 studying for quizzes when you know there's going to be a quiz. You should expect to be studying multiple hours for your exams. Simply coming to class is not going to allow you to pass this class. This definitely goes a long way. Students who tend to come to class and do the work are very unlikely to fail this class. But you should expect to work hard. You shouldn't expect this to be a walk in the park. Along with that, though, of course, I do expect you to attend class and participate. If you miss class frequently, you're probably not going to do very well in this class. And I will ask that you please enter the course on time and remain in class for the duration of the class period. I understand that sometimes things happen that you can't control. You may be late. You may have to leave early. All I can say is try to be courteous. Try to treat me the way that you'd want to be treated. Try to treat the other students that you'd want to be treated. Please, behave in a professional manner. So this class, as I mentioned, does have computers available to use for doing statistical analysis. I will ask that you don't use the computers when we're not actually doing something that needs to be on. You basically only use the computers when you need to be. So if I'm lecturing and I'm not doing anything on the computer and I see you typing on your keyboard, I know you're probably not paying attention to me. If you don't want to pay attention to me, that's fine. Then just leave the class. There's really no reason for you to be there. If you want to be in class, then that's fantastic. Then please pay attention and don't distract yourself with the computer during class. I also expect you to ask questions during class or during office hours if you're confused. Certainly there are going to be times when I don't say something clearly, I make mistakes, and something needs clarification. All I ask is that if you need something to be clarified, then you raise your hand or you come talk to me. I'll do my best to explain it in another way, to do a different example, to correct my mistake, etc. If you don't tell me that you need help, then I'm not going to be able to help you. And so please ask questions. It's truly not a burden. I really, really do want you to ask questions so that you can be successful in this course. So please ask questions whenever you need to do so. It's also helpful if you actually read the relevant sections of the book, especially if you can do it before I actually lecture on the topic. So I don't expect you to be able to learn all of this on your own simply by reading the book. But if you read the book ahead of time, or even if you read the book after I've lectured, hopefully will help you to make some connections that I don't make in class. Additionally, the book is typically going to go deeper than I'm going to go in class. It really just depends on the topic, but it should be helpful to you if you actually do read the book as we are studying the material. When you're doing homework, make sure you complete the homework as the homework sets are assigned. I know that as a student, you're very busy, but if you wait until the last minute to complete a homework assignment, it's not going to be very beneficial to you. You're likely to make a lot more mistakes, and it's not really going to help you retain the knowledge you need on the quizzes and the exams. So please try as much as possible to do the homework sets ahead of time, and if you have questions, you can always ask me about the homework too, and so that's another added benefit. I will say that I do make course announcements frequently. It's often going to be done via email, or it could be through Canvas. Either way, you definitely want to be checking your email often, university email that's associated with Canvas, and checking Canvas often. It's up to you to look at, it's up to you to keep up to date with the announcements I make, whether or not I announce them in class. So make sure that you're checking your email, make sure that you are checking Canvas on a frequent basis so that you can be aware of any of the latest information that I'm going to be giving you guys. One of the, I think, benefits in this class is that I do provide lecture slides for every single chapter that we're going to cover. For the most part, I just write out all of my lecture notes. I do leave blanks for the examples so that you can fill that part in and work through that on your own, or as we go through it in class, you can write it onto your notes. But I'm going to make that available through Canvas, so make sure you check Canvas, and you can print those out ahead of time, and that will be helpful to you. Please turn off your cell phone during class. And I will say if you have any major religious observance or anything like that that is going to conflict with class, just let me know. I'd be happy to accommodate you. We just need to talk about it ahead of time. So student grievances, so something you should be aware of. If you do have any complaints about me or about the course, then there's actually a process you're supposed to go through. The first one is that you have to meet with me face-to-face. Hopefully that doesn't sound too scary. I really do care about this class. I care about helping you guys to do well, to help you to be successful. So please come talk to me. I'd be happy to hear what you have to say, and hopefully we can come to a resolution that will be satisfactory for all parties. If you're not satisfied, however, then you can go to either the Associate Chair, Steve Phillips, who should be your primary contact, or if that's not going to work for you, then to Jan Mandel, who's the chair of the department. And if you're still not satisfied after meeting with one of those two men, then you should go to the Associate Dean. You should note that no step in this process should be skipped, and you can see procedures for student grievances and about courses or faculty in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences if you would like more information. So there's some university-wide policies that you should be aware of, and some links that could be helpful to you. I'm not going to go into those in detail, but just things that you should be aware of. And I will say that I reserve the right to modify the syllabus as the semester progresses. I typically don't modify it, or if I do, it's only slight variations, but the syllabus is not set in stone except for the exam dates, which are. If you scroll down, we do have a tentative course schedule here, so you can see that at the beginning here we move actually pretty rapidly. We cover chapters 3 and 4 this first week. We cover, after that, almost a chapter a week up through chapter 7. And then once we hit chapter 7 and we start getting into newer stuff, things that you probably haven't learned in any other classes, then things do tend to slow down, and we move quite a bit slower for the rest of the semester. And that will happen shortly after, around the time we have exam 1 is when things will start slowing down a bit, and we'll be moving through a lot of material, but at a much slower pace that will hopefully help you to keep up. Lastly, on this last couple pages of the syllabus, there's simply some, policies, some class academic policies, and some important dates and deadlines that you'll want to be aware of. I'm not going to talk about these in detail, but just things that you might want to know. So I'd encourage you to read through those and make sure that you have all the information that you need to make the best decisions about how you schedule your time and make decisions about this course. If you have any questions whatsoever, then please send me an email or come give me a call. We can set up a time to talk on the phone. I'd be happy to talk with you guys about any of the questions that you have regarding the syllabus.